They called Krishnamurti the world's teacher. I'm suggesting that I be referred to as the world's substitute teacher. This is the Tokyo Shemp Show. My eyesight is slowly but surely returning. There was heavy cataract action going on. I had my right eye done about a year and a half ago. There were complications. It's something called nuclear fragments. It sounds bad, and it was fairly bad. But I did learn how to sing. I self-taught myself to sing. I'd already figured out that I had Asperger's. And this was sort of an attempt to prove it, since many believe that there is a connection between perfect pitch and autism. The problem with the first procedure on the right eye was I forgot. I was too excited. Somehow I didn't get it across that I shouldn't have anesthesia, or I forgot that I should have made that clear. It's not like I've had a million surgeries in life. In fact, other than things that don't even count as surgery, I had stents put in. That's not even technically surgery. They just open up a hole in my arm, in your arm, if you're young enough, healthy enough. Maybe not young enough, but some people have to have it go through their legs or something to get those stents in. I don't know. You can look into it yourselves. So the point was that this was really my first intrusive surgery. Well, the heart stuff is intrusive, having a stent put in. I do recall I had told the heart people that I couldn't take anesthesia, but for some reason, a year, whenever later on, when I was having this eye thing done, I forgot about the allergy to anesthesia, and the guy said I was shaking all over the place, and they were worried about me. So I don't blame them at all for the complications to that. A friend, I would call her an informant. If I was an informant and I didn't want you to think I was an informant, then I would say, I've been informed by one of my informants, that heart attacks, I had a mild heart attack, heart attacks can lead to cataracts, very hard, heavy cataracts. Maybe I should look into that, but maybe I don't really care, because it's really infinite what anyone can look into. That is the essence of nothingness, the lack of meaning. There would be meaning if the media wasn't rigged, if everything wasn't corrupt and rigged, then yes, there would be meaning. We could develop meaning, etc., so forth. So this second one, it went so much better, because I'm awake during it. They must use some different type of drugs, maybe try to drug up the area, and they did put something on my hand, so I figured they were giving me some type of alternative narcotic. But still, because of the hardness of the cataracts, something like that, I ended up with a lot of inflammation. But it's now a couple days later. I won't even go into suspected food poisoning I suffered that night. I won't name the product, but I was sick. Just nothing would stay in the system. I don't know why I'm sharing all this medical stuff. I should just stick to the basics of this eye surgery I got. So anyway, the eyes are starting to open up. I'm starting to see again. I'm starting to balance the two eyes, because I've been working off of one eye for about a year. And it's just a beautiful thing to get something back that we take for granted. I say we because sometimes we're allowed to say we, because it's fact, it's truthful. If someone can see, then they can't see, it sucks. But then if you get the sight back, it's like, wow, thank you. Who are you thanking, though? I mean, you can thank the doctors and the nurses and all that medical stuff, sure. But who do you thank for everything? Do you thank your parents? I don't know if we should even thank our parents. They didn't create us. Nothing lasts forever. There's no creator amongst us. There's nothingness amongst us. I'm not saying creativity isn't a thing. I'm saying there's no security in that. I picked that up from Krishnamurti. There's no security, period. Everything is on loan. Everything is a grace. Everything is a gift. Everything is mysterious. There are limits to the human software. I lost the ability to eat food. I was getting dehydrated from that food poisoning thing that coincided with the recovery from cataract surgery. So I had a fairly rough couple days, mostly sleeping, but if you keep sleeping, you're just going to get headaches. But today, it's like, yes, I'm back. I'm still in pain and I'm still healing, but I can feel now the ability to power through the difficulties. So I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, anything I tried to put in there would come back up. But it wasn't food because I didn't eat before the surgery much. I had that bad food on the night I came back. But other than that, at some point the stomach's empty. But that yellow stuff wasn't coming up. That took like a day. But finally, once that yellow stuff came up, I knew that whatever was wrong inside my gut was gone. Then I woke up, must have been, I think last night, like at 2 a.m. I was like, yes, I can. Or was it the night before then? It becomes a blur. I think life is definitely a blur. I don't know how those savants can remember exact days and weather, all that kind of savantness. I'm not saying I'm not a savant, though. I think I am. That is today's lesson. You lose something, you took it for granted, you take for granted the food, the drink. There's no such thing as breatharians. That's a hoax. I digress a little on that to get back to the main point, the overall point, to make this 10 minutes or so make some sense. This is easier for me right now. I don't want to read too much. I was reading, and it's just amazing how negative the news is. It can't be realistic. Maybe it's realistic that there's no such thing as social media. There's no such thing as a social media without contamination. I'm saying the whole thing is, what's that word they would use for a computer? Corrupted. They would call a computer program corrupted if it no longer worked. So glitches, maybe you have a glitch, fine, the glitch gets worked out or you patch it up. But when something's corrupted, it could be done. I am putting out the message that all media is corrupt. All politics is corrupt. All academics are corrupt. Everything, for lack of a better word, is corrupt. With Buddhism, you could say everything is meaningless. I am coming from the Western angle of all of this is corruption. There's no reason to follow it. There's no reason to participate. Now, I'm not saying don't participate at all. You can do whatever you want. I am merely the world's substitute teacher. I know I'm going to get kids trying to mess with me because I'm the sub. We know how that works. The collective we. Just try to put yourself in the shoes of the sub once in a while. That's all I'm saying. You could be that sub one day and you'll go, that's what that guy was trying to say. Lay off of the substitute teachers. But to get back to the main lesson, stop taking for granted that you are alive, that you're breathing. Slow down your breathing. Stop following. Do like a stop, like chirp. Stop it. Done. I'm not saying be confused. You don't have to do anything. Just stop and let it be. That is your hearing. That is your sight. That is your touch. That is your taste. That is your ability to smell. There's a sixth sense, though, also. They don't really teach us about that one. It's called the mind. So when you stop everything, you create the atmosphere in which you're able to become one with the six senses. I did a song a number of days ago, I think right after the surgery, before the food poisoning. I did Isolation by John Lennon. I only messed up a note or two. It was a pretty bad mess up of a note or two for the background music. I apologize in advance for that. And today, after I finish up talking, I'm going to do Show Me the Way by Peter Frampton. I've been listening to that a lot. Last night, yesterday, and then into today I'm listening to it. I'll keep listening to it a few more times. I'll add 2 more lessons, though, before I get to that, and it won't be too much. I know people are busy with their own stuff to do, but I'm not backing down from presenting myself as a thinker, as someone who can be public. I'm not afraid. I don't care anymore. I feel unashamed. That's a lyric out of the Frampton song I'll be doing. That is the goal of life, to be unashamed. But before we get to that tune, well, I'll also say about that tune, I think it's about God. I do. Like, it's interesting. You age, you go through some decades, and then you listen to something from years ago, and you're like, oh, wow, I thought that was a love song, but now I think it's about God. So I'll just throw that out there for the food for thought. So maybe folks will stick around to listen to the couple tunes. Okay, 2 lessons. I'm just throwing these together because I do believe in being spontaneous. I wrote down a couple notes so I don't go, what was I gonna say? So I wrote down just a few words. I don't cheat like those COINTELPRO shows. That'll be part of the second lesson. But the first lesson is cats. And sorry I screamed. I hope that doesn't blow out an eardrum. Okay, cats and Asperger's. It's thought that people with Asperger's or autism can relate or get along, can create bonds very easily with cats. I'm going to vouch for that. Now that's not going to be a we thing, because unless someone looks into this, they're not going to say, yes, you're correct, or no, you're incorrect. Now I could say as my opinion that I'm 100% sure, but still, based on what Krishnamurti taught us, one still has to do the due diligence and work through the idea for themselves. You shouldn't just accept any authority from anywhere, perhaps including one's self. Now, why I say this is, I'll just give 1 or 2 examples. My hearing is off the charts. I didn't realize that until the last year or 2. You just assume that that's the way it is. That's how that happens. When you're young, we're so vulnerable. And then we get programmed, we get conditioned, we just accept. We end up taking things for granted. We become less whole. We become less in the moment. We become more incapable of listening or speaking. So my hearing is off the charts. I was talking with a friend, and the cat was right there. And I was playing with the cat, and we have a good relationship. We get along quite well. All of a sudden, my friend did a sigh. It wasn't outrageous, but the cat jittered like heck. So for myself, I could hear it, and I'm not going to jitter. But the cat was like jolted. So the cat was focused in on being petted? Pet? Is there a past participle for that word? I'm digressing into grammar. So that's one example. The cat jittered, and I get jittery too for certain sounds. It's interesting because some sounds will freak me out, but it won't freak the cat out. Some sounds will upset me that don't rattle the cat. Dogs are notorious for freaking out from lightning. So that's the kind of idea I'm saying. Cats and people with Asperger's can simply relate to one another. We're different species. Well, I can only say we. If you're listening and you don't have Asperger's, then myself saying we is incorrect. People with Asperger's and cats can relate by hearing, by sound. That should be enough for that one. That's lesson number 1. God, I'm so happy today. The food poisoning's gone and my eyesight's coming back. I'm just feeling really positive and grateful. Lesson number 2 is about content, and this is all I wrote down. First, lesson number 1, I just wrote down cats and Asperger's, so I wouldn't forget. The second one, I've written down content. Then I put one of those, I think it's called a carrot, or it's a directional signal or something where you're like, okay, and then under that it'll be for like bullet points. So for content, I had down negativity, positivity, and indifference. And I suppose the word spectrum is good, but if you're going to use the word spectrum, you have to also keep in mind the pregnancy analogy. Like, you can't be a little bit pregnant. You can't have a little bit of autism. Now, people who are so-called neurotypical without Asperger's, without autism, they will have the same humanity, the same ability to hear, to see. But when we're referring to people with autism, it has to do specifically with sensory overload, including the sixth sense of the mind. But in regards to the digesting of content, I imagine or opine that we're all the same, that there's a spectrum between negativity, then indifference, or positivity. So I believe that all humans are being bombarded. We're all conditioned the same way, just about. I'm not going to go into how it's existential and there's an absurdity of consciousness, even though that's also correct. I'm talking about the sociology of modern consciousness, where we ended up, where we are precisely in this day. It's August 8th. Still early, not too early morning. It's about 9:45. Takes me a while to edit these things when I'm talking like this and do those tunes. And I like to put these up soon enough because I eventually have seen that I'm basically under surveillance, and they're right on top of this. Even though I'm just speaking into a software program called Audacity for audio, that they get the jump on me. It's not like Snowden emerged, Hal Turner emerged, Brandon Darby emerged, Steve Poikonen emerged, Jimmy Dore emerged, Alex Jones emerged. It's not like these people emerge and then it's like, aha, that's what's going on, and we're going to change that. We're going to have congressional meetings, and this is going to get fixed. This is going to be addressed. Sometimes things are destroyed. Sometimes things are corrupted to such a point that it's over. So, NH, yeah, I noticed how negative the news has been, how scary it is. That woman, NH, I'm not going to go into her background. She's just one person among billions. But before I lose the point of why I brought up NH, it's because when she flew that car into that stranger's garage, basically blew it up, or set it on fire. It didn't get blown up, sorry. But when the woman said, like, her whole lifetime of memories and stuff collected was destroyed. So if there's a positivity to that, I would like to say that I just said they use the word that too much. But beyond that, everything is on loan. The more we think, the more we accumulate within the mind. The more baggage we add on. The opposite of that isn't ignorance. I suggest people work through that on their own, that part of it. There are no easy answers. One can only process their own existential existence. But the positivity of losing things. I did have an experience of my own a long time ago. I was going door to door for Greenpeace. It was San Francisco. I was fortunate. When I said I had a good life or a bad life, I did end up in a few spots. I got to go to Ireland and live there, and I also lived in California for a little bit. Mostly the Massachusetts, Boston was my area. So one day I'm out there in San Francisco, the windy place. I had the clipboard. So you have the clipboard with it, and it's called Medium. It's no different than what the disinfo shills use. They're reading off of what the medium. They're in a synergy with the news, so-called news, and they're just trying to keep us within what's called parameters of acceptable thought and discussion. They're trying to direct us and manage us. Sorry for any diction issues. It's much easier to write than to speak, of course, since writing can be edited. Unless you're scripted, no one can talk perfectly how those disinfo shills do it. They don't even talk perfectly. They'll misread a word. Do you missay words? Watch for that. I don't think it happens, or it's very rare. They'll completely mess up a word. So it's not just about following their eyes. There are other things that show that they're scripted. So anyway, the wind took away my medium. All the sheets went flying. I dropped the clipboard. The clipboard fell or something happened where all the sheets were gone. So I had nothing to show people. I couldn't look down and go, oh, wills, save the wills, or toxic waste. I had none of that. I had to wing it. I had to just be myself and talk to them. And I still made the quota. I still found a way to promote the cause. So that woman who had her lifetime of memories, or her belongings, they're all gone now. This could be the greatest thing that ever happened to her. This is for yourselves, anyone listening to me here. It's up to you to think through that. I think I provided something of quality, this idea. And that's why I say silly things like, I am the world's substitute teacher. Because they would call Krishnamurti the world's teacher. I'm authentic, if anything else. So that's why I do seem to get a minimum of page views at this point. I respect anyone out there who likes my show when I'm rattling out the ideas like this and working on it. I appreciate you for looking for authenticity, for looking for the humanity, for breaking off from the conditioning of rise and shine media mythology, I called it. You wake up, you go to your favorite news source. True radicalism means to break off from all authority, not that authority or the one over there, but all of it. When we go into content, there's going to be a spectrum of, you can have negativity. So when I actually heard about NH from a person, and it blew my mind, and my eyesight was bad, so I wasn't really eager to read about it. There's going to be no indifference or positivity towards that story. Even when we think there'll be nothing but indifference, say like Pete Davidson breaking up with Kim Kardashian, is it indifference? It's indifference in that who cares? Yes, who cares about them? That's an easy call. You can't say that about NH. You can't say, I don't care about her. She could have killed those people. No, that poor woman, come on. Of course what she did was wrong, and you just wish that you could have been her friend. Does she not have any friends? What is wrong with her? What is wrong with people? That's seems to be a catchphrase. What is wrong with you? How could you do that? That is lesson number 2. That, for the most part, but first, so there is indifference on one level with Pete Davidson breaking up. Well, it was actually, I heard Kim Kardashian called him young and immature, too young and immature. Duh, you think so? Or cue up the sarcasm. I didn't see that coming. So yes, there's indifference on the level of I hate, but there's no indifference. You end up going, I hate their guts, or Kim Kardashian they both make me queasy, or, I mean, there's gonna be some type of response, even when there's indifference. So maybe there's no such thing as indifference. Maybe indifference is an impossibility. So they tell us, watch what you eat, you become what you eat, maybe. And they also, who are they, though? But it's just a catchphrase, they. Well, how can it be a phrase? Can one word be a phrase? So now I'm just rambling on and on, from one thought to the next. It's like chasing my tail. It's like trying to see my own eyes or hear well, no. What am I trying to say? It's like you can see the other people. You can get a feel for them, but we're all basically alone, which could be very scary. So I guess that is the end of lesson number 2, that life is very difficult. That is made more difficult by society, by the structure, by the medium, by the government, by all the institutions. The conspiracy is in the institutions. If one truly wants to understand social reality, all they have to do is read C. Wright Mills or Eric Fromm. I guarantee if you read them, you will understand social reality. I guarantee it. I promise you that. If you want to know the meaning of life, well, that one is a little bit much more difficult. But if you want to understand the meaning of society, which we're all a part of, then there's going to be a spectrum, and it's going to be out of our control. We think we have free will, but there's no guarantee of that. We are influenced. We are affected. I wish people like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange had more power, but they don't. If those guys don't have any power, I realize I have if they have a little power, then I have astronomically less power than Assange, who has little power, little influence. The game's rigged. They set up those channels. They set them up to make us feel negative. They set them up to create a pattern in which people will return to them. They want to interact with people offline. They've made that clear. They want your home address in order to send you things. These people showed up proverbially out of nowhere. Okay, I see the time's really building up. I appreciate this time. I feel grateful to anyone who has given me a chance to be a substitute teacher sort of bloke. Lesson number 2 is what we ingest, what we experience does influence the mind and the body. The body and the mind are probably the one and the same. Words and thoughts never truly lead anywhere. They do and they don't. There is meaning, but there's no security in it. I would like to continue on with this type of thought. I did this about half year ago or some months back. I may get into less of this public speaking to rattle out ideas, and I may try to write, because I do not like the system taking control of everything that is transmitted electronically. I would love it if there was a bubble which could keep out the government, the military, the astroturf, China. Everyone likes to say China now because of the way Trump said it. It is very frustrating. I think the way things never get better is that the system is trying to break us. I think that is the essence of social reality. The authority tries to break us. The only way to prevent that is to cease participation. There may be a different path where you could sort of participate, but it's on your own terms and it's academic. Yet, I think that is very difficult. I think it can be done, but that it's very difficult. I think it can be used as an excuse to participate in Medium, to read it, to watch it. I think it can be an excuse to refer to it as academic when it's merely entertainment for better or worse, amusement, diversion, any words that fit. So that's the end of lesson 2. To be careful of what you ingest, to slow down your breathing, to cut slack for yourselves, to try to stay level. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. Woohoo! Woohoo! Dun 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 dun. I wonder how you're feeling. It's ringing in my ears, and no one to relate to except the sea. Who can I believe in? I'm kneeling on the floor. There has to be a force. Who do I phone? The stars are out and shining, but all I really want to know, oh, won't you show me the way every day? I want you show me the way, yeah. Well, I can see no reason you're living on your nerves. When someone drops a cup and I submerge, I'm swimming in a circle. I feel I'm going down. There has to be a fool to play my part. Well, someone thought of healing, but all I really want to know, well, won't you show me the way every day? I want you show me the way. Oh, I want you day after day. Where you want. I wonder if I'm dreaming. I feel so unashamed. I can't believe this is happening to me. I watch you when you're sleeping, and then I want to take your love. Oh, won't you show me the way every day? I want you show me the way one more time. I want you day after day. Hey, want you day after day. I want you show me the way every day. I want you show me the way night and day. I want you day after day. Hey, ding 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 ding. People say we got it made. Don't they know we're so afraid? Isolation. We're afraid to be alone. Everybody got to have a home. Isolation. Just a boy and little girl trying to change the whole wide world. Isolation. The world is just a little town. Everybody trying to put us down. Dun, dun, dun. Isolation. I don't expect you to understand after you've caused so much pain. But then again, you're not to blame. You're just a human, a victim of the insane. We're afraid of everyone, afraid of the sun. Isolation. The sun will never disappear, but the world may not have many years. Isolation.